Hello, and welcome back to Let's Talk Chicago Bears, Season 3. Okay, so last preseason game was on Saturday. So let's do a little chit-chatting about that game, huh? What did you guys think? Of course, it was a good game. It was fun. It's always fun to win, isn't it? Preseason or not, I just love when the Bears win. But now I'm going to say this a lot probably in today's show. The last 3 games were preseason. Yes, the Bears went 3-0. But it's preseason, and that does not really mean a lot. It feels good. It looks good on paper. It pumps the team up. But at the end of the day, when the season starts, the regular season starts, I believe, on the 8th of Thursday night, but the majority of the games are on September 11th on Sunday. So that's when it really all takes shape. But we won, and I liked it. So first, I do want to say one thing. First of all, I want to thank my regulars again for coming back, and then there's new people that are coming on. I'm getting more views, and it's kind of cool, although it's making me a little nervous. Just kidding. But it is nice to kind of see more views. I love doing it regardless. I'm going to do it if I had 2 reviews as opposed to 200. But it is nice seeing it. So keep on watching. And I do want to apologize for the last show. It was not one of my better shows. I had a few problems pronouncing names, which if you watch my show, the last 2 seasons, you know I can't pronounce names. So I tend to do whatever name, their first or last name I can pronounce, and then their numbers, which I will do again this year. I always like to give the players numbers, because a lot of people who watch the game, they see the numbers more than the guys' names. But it wasn't the greatest show, so I apologize for that. But it is preseason for the announcer here too, so let's just remember that. But my shows will get better and better, and we like to have fun on this show. But I did want to say I did not actually get to physically watch the game. It was not on here in Vegas, unfortunately. But I did listen to it on the radio, and Tom Thayer and Jeff Joniak did it, and Tom Thayer was really good. So it was really kind of nice hearing it with a different perspective, of play callers who are calling the game. And Tom is just so, and if you don't know who Tom Thayer is, he's from the Bears, the 90s. Was he on the Bears? I can't remember. Yes, I'm sorry. He was on the 80s and 90s. See, I'm looking at the picture in the back here. That's the greatest offensive line ever. And he was on the 85 Bears winning Super Bowl year. So it was enjoyable watching him. I learned a lot listening to him. So what I'm going off of, and then I saw the highlights. I turned on the highlights. So, and again, we went 3-0. They won 21-20, and that last drive of Browns was very long. They ate up a lot of time, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But it didn't matter because it was thirds and fourth stringers in the game by that point. But the Bears did win 21-20. The Bears went 3-0. Now, the only thing I'm going to say here is this points out that really preseason, as far as records go, doesn't necessarily mean anything. In the 1985 year, the Bears went to the Super Bowl, and they were 15-1 for the regular season. They were 1-3 in preseason, so they only won 1 game. So let's not get over, let's not get over excited here. I mean, I love the Bears. Do not get me wrong. I want them to win all the time. But let's just put it in perspective, okay? But I do like the new only 3 games in the preseason. And now they basically have, 13 game days. So 2 weeks before the regular season. So any of the starters that might have gotten a little banged up in preseason or in the games have 2 weeks to get ready, and I like that. So we'll see. So let's dive into the game a little bit. So the one thing that I really, really, really liked, and this is something we have not done in years, especially under Nagy, and I hate even bringing that guy up. I mean, the regulars that have been watching me for 2 years, probably will be thrilled he's not on the team anymore because I just ripped him for the last 2 years. Because I stopped, I was on the Nagy in 2019, long before anybody else, and everybody got on my bad way and last year saying, yeah, you've been right along. Yeah, I know. So, anyways, here's a really nice thing. So, during that game on Saturday, the Bears mixed it up so nicely. They had 28 pass attempts and they had 25 run attempts. Nice mix. And that's something we desperately missed. And then if Nagy was running last year, when he did finally run, he always ran at the wrong times, for cripe's sake. So I like the mix up a lot. We got to keep that up through the year. Time of possession, which if you watch my show, is important. I always say you got to win that to win the game. It was pretty close. The Bears had 26 minutes opposed to 33 minutes of the Browns. But that last drive the Browns had was super long, and I believe without that drive it would have been pretty even. But it was still good, but you want to win that time of possession. And this is my one thing that you all know is my biggest bugaboo. You watch me, and you continue to watch me, you're going to learn penalties. And my rule has always been 5 or less penalties and you have a chance to win the game because you're not shooting yourself in the foot. The Bears only had 5 for 48 yards, and so I like that. We have to keep it down, and that's been something for years and years, especially the last 4 years under Nagy. They were terrible. As I told you last week, last year they were 10th or 12th out of 32 teams. That they were 12th worst, and they had over 106 penalties. That's just terrible for 16 games. I mean, seriously. Now we're playing 17 games, but last year was 16. So that's another really, really good thing. And one of the only bad things that really stuck out for me on for the offense on Saturday was I didn't like. The Bears were 1 for 8 on third down conversions. Now, clearly they were getting first downs, but they were getting them on first and second down, which is good because you like doing that. I'm not complaining about that. But if you have to, you're at first. So they were at third and whatever 8 times, and they only got 1 first down out of that. So you got to change that. And I am pretty sure Coach Matt is going to talk about that, and they're going to work on that. But that's something they have to work on. Fields look pretty darn good. Again, pre-season, and a lot of the Cleveland players were not playing on defense. He didn't get sacked. I love how they had him running and doing pass action plays. At one time, I saw a preview where he was running, and the whole offense just moved with him. And he could have played a poker game back there. He had so much time. So that is something we need to see every single week. But this is a good thing. He was 14 of 16 in the first half. He only played, and he went for 156 yards with 3 touchdowns with no turnovers. So I like that. And another thing that impressed me about Justin is he got the Cleveland defense, twice the jump off sides, which gave Bears first downs. Twice offside. So that's pretty good. I like having that. And he was releasing the ball, it seemed to me, the few highlights I could see, a lot faster. And that is just going to help everybody. It's going to help him, number one. It's going to help the offensive line and his receivers. So if he can keep getting that ball out of his hand with 3 seconds or less, we're getting there. I liked how the coaching staff and Fields mixed it up. On one of I think it was not the first drive because we went 3 and out, but on the second drive when we scored a touchdown, he used 5 different receivers, tight ends, and running backs. He mixed it up real well, went down, touchdown. David Montgomery. Now, and you know one thing, and so Fields, at bottom line, He needs times. He does need to read the defense. One thing Tom Thayer pointed out in that first drive when we first got the ball and they went 3 and out, the Bears, he said that with more experience, he said we would have had a touchdown on that drive because he said he missed, Fields missed something the defense was doing, and or I should say didn't do correctly, and if had he seen it, there was one of the receivers was apparently wide open or going to be wide open, and he said he probably would have run for a touchdown. But that's an experience, and he's going to learn that. So it wasn't necessarily a bad thing, but it's just something we got to remember. This is his second year. He's still learning, and really, this is his first year in a lot of ways because he's under a new head coach and offensive coordinator. So everything that happened last year is gone, and Coach Matt, already I'm loving this guy because of his discipline and all that other stuff he's playing. These guys are playing. So let's just hope, continues. David Montgomery looked real good. He had a great game. He was running. He was catching. So they didn't want to leave him in too long and that's good. If he's ready for the season and he's ready to ball, that's only going to help the offensive line overall because it's easier for an offensive line to block for runners than it is passers, obviously, because you got to hold them at least 3 seconds, sometimes longer. And if you got a good running back and a line that can open up holes, very good. So all in all, the offense looked very well in the first half. Again, preseason. And Herbert looked very good when he played, mostly in the second half. But again, I love that guy. Okay, the defense, they played good in the first half. They caused a couple turnovers. And one thing I will point out from one of those turnovers on the interception in the first half is something the Bears have not done in the past very well. So the Bears get an interception. The ball comes back to the Bears offense, and what do? They went right down the field and got a touchdown. Another thing that hardly ever happened last year. The Bears would get turnovers, didn't have a lot, but when they did, our offense never did anything with it. So it's huge. Good teams score, whether it's 3 or 7, off of turnovers. And you just watch other teams and you know what I'm talking about. So that's something that's good, and I like it. Now, we haven't seen all the starters on the defense yet. Quinn was out, Roquan was out, and the defense is still getting new. But I did hear these guys' names come up on defense. Number 57, Jack Sanborn, who is homegrown, went to Lake Zurich High School. And number 79, Cooley, who has been in the league, I believe, 6 years. And those guys were all over the field from what I heard of, and they were playing very, very well. So I like hearing that. And, the defense seems to be flying all over the place. So let's see, again, preseason, because I don't believe there was hardly any starters on besides the offense line for Cleveland in that game. They didn't have their running back, their receivers, none of them were in there. So, we'll see. But there's one thing Tom Thayer pointed out, and he was right. The Bears played on Saturday very good on all 3 phases. They didn't make any really stupid mistakes. Yes, Trevor, our backup quarterback, who went to Northwestern, and I've watched him when he did go to Northwestern, he did fumble the ball, and the other team took it down, and I think they got 3 points off of that. But preseason, I'm not really worried about it. And he's going to be our backup because Peterman's awful. He's not. It's going to be Trevor as the backup. So let's just talk about a few things. I am just loving the discipline on this team. It is something that I have been, praying for, asking for years, because they really lacked it under Nagy. And actually, I see as much discipline on this team that we used to see when Lovie Smith was our coach. And if you watch my show, you know I'm pen pals with the president of the Bears, George McCaskey. As a matter of fact, I have 3 letters on top of my little sign here that were handwritten from George on letters I wrote him, and each letter I always would say to him, because I handwrite the letters, we need discipline, discipline, discipline. And he would always write back saying, I totally agree. And I heard him on the radio. They were interviewing him, and he said, it is so nice to see the discipline in the building. And what's ever really nice, and I've read a lot about this, is that all the players are buying in to Coach Matt's hits. Capital H, capital I, capital T, capital S, hits philosophy. And if you don't know what that is, it's hustle, it's intensity, it's takeaways, and it's smart play. And the Bears are doing that. And I read a couple about some of the few veterans left, and they were like, we'll see about that. But they have all bought in and then some, and they're like, we're loving it. So I think this year we're going to see turnovers more, which we really, really need. And it is such a breath of fresh air to see that discipline back, isn't it? I mean, think about it. The last few years, just sloppy, stupid, mental mistakes. And not this year. We're not going to see that. We might not win a lot of games because it is a rebuild. But I think every week we're going to see smart, error-free play. And if that's the case, I can live with that, because then we'll just next year go and get better players. It'll show you what we need, but I'm liking it. I'm thinking this coach has really got this team on board. And again, this is a rebuild year. And if you're really a real Bears fan, you got to be patient. I know you don't want to hear me say that, because it's been it's been 40 years almost 40 years since we won a Super Bowl. In 2006 we were there, and we didn't win, but I'm telling you, it's coming. I can feel it. And there's nothing more than I would love my son is 33. We watched the game in 2006. They were bad. We didn't watch. He wasn't into it yet because he was young. He wasn't alive in '85. So there's nothing more than I would love to see is to watch the Bears go to the Super Bowl and win, see it now with my grandson too. So I'm digging it. I just think that Coach Matt has this team headed in the right direction. So we be patient. Don't be beaten up on the Bears. Unless they start playing really shitty, unlike I have not seen yet, then we could talk about beating on them. But right now, we got to be positive and support them, because that's what they need. Okay? So it was all pretty good. Tomorrow, the 30th, is the day that the Bears, all teams, have to get down to a 53-man roster. So we'll know. It could change, though, for the next couple weeks, because there could be some trades. You never know. But tomorrow, the 53-man roster has to be announced, so they have to release. And then Wednesday, the 31st, then they announce their 16-player practice squad. So things could change this week. I'm guessing for sure we won't know the real team until next week sometime, when we get closer to playing San Francisco. So, but tomorrow's the day, the cut-down day. So at the end of this week, I will do a show. Now, my sister's coming in town on Friday, and we're going to do some partying this week in Vegas, baby. So I may do the show Thursday, and we'll kind of talk about who's on the team and this and that. I'll do a small show. It's not going to be a long show. And then next week, on September 9th, which is the Friday before the Sunday game, I'll come on. We'll talk about Bears playing San Francisco at home, and we'll start to get into the season, because I'm ready to get this season started. How about you guys? Okay, so last week I announced I'm going to have a little fun and I'm going to name a player who I think played the best, and that means all around smartness, no penalties, anything. It's just my fun, and remember, it's the Turf Award. This is Turf from the Bears season until 1997 when they ripped it up. So this is the Turf Award. So this will be officially my first Turf Award winner, and it's got to go to Justin Fields. A lot of other people played, but Justin really played smart football. And September 11th starts the real season, but I thought, why not? So Justin, you get the first Turf Award for Player of the Week on Let's Talk Chicago Bears. And I will keep a list of all the winners each week, and let's have some fun, right? So, okay, and one little call out to somebody. I have a friend out there that I reconnected with maybe 6-8 months ago. He used to be my boss a long time ago at one of my favorite companies, and also my friend. And he is one of my favorite human beings in the world, and he really is one great human being. And he texted me the other day, and he's like, I'm going to be watching your show this year, so I'm really, really pumped. So, Robert, thank you, my friend. I love you. Okay, fans, well, that is it from your host with the mostest, and I hope you liked my show. Once we get into the season, I'll start telling little funny stories here, and the one thing about me messing up names, and I do it all the time, so like I said, I'm going to try to eliminate this year, is it's my father's fault. You know, I've told this story a million times. He had 4 kids, 2 brothers, me and my sister, my little sister. We all went to a high school in Arlington Heights, Illinois called Hersey. And it was named after an author, John Hersey. My dad had 4 kids go there, and he called it Hershey all the time. Wasn't a candy bar, Dad. So that's why I can't pronounce names, okay? So it's his fault. But let's have some fun with it, right? Let's see how many I can get right this year. All right. I love you guys, and I appreciate you watching. Tell everybody. It is just fun. I've got my old Hicks jersey on today. Can you see it? Because I still love them. You know what? As the one thing about jerseys nowadays, you buy them, and half the guys aren't even on the team anymore. I have 9 jerseys. And there's only, out of all my jerseys, there's only one guy I'm still on the Bears. Mr. Mooney, number 11, our wide receiver. So I guess I'm going to have to get a Fields jersey. My son has one, but I have one. It's a Christmas present maybe, huh? I was going to say, if any family members are watching, great Christmas present, but my family does not watch my show. It really kind of pisses me off, but what are you going to do? I know. All right. So I'm going to end my show as I always do. Be kind to one another. Be kind to people out in the world. Help somebody out if they need it. You never know what kind of day or life they are having. Smile at people, because there's nothing better than walking around a grocery store, shopping mall, anywhere, and smiling. And you get so many smiles back, and sometimes you can really see somebody needs it. So let's stick together. Be kind. Let's give the Bears a chance this year. I'll see you later in the week to talk about after the 53-man roster has been named. And I hope you guys have a great day. And as always, keep on rocking and rolling from Vegas, baby. I'll see you later.